When I look back now, it almost feels like I'm watching someone else's life, a scared version of me, hiding behind baggy clothes and nervous smiles, terrified of being seen for who I really was. It's strange how we can live years pretending to be invisible just to avoid the pain of being misunderstood. My name is Ryan, or at least, that's the name I used to answer to, and this is the story of how I finally stopped hiding. From fear to fierce. I used to wake up every morning with this heavy feeling in my chest, like I was already behind before the day even started. My reflection felt foreign. The mirror showed me someone I was supposed to recognize: short hair, loose hoodie, slouched shoulders, but every time I tried to smile, it didn't quite reach my eyes. I kept telling myself, you just need to toughen up. Be stronger. Be like everyone else. But that voice, the one buried deep under layers of fear and shame, kept whispering, this isn't you. Not really. It started small. One night, when everyone was asleep, I stood in front of the mirror in my room and held up a simple scarf. It belonged to my sister. I wrapped it around my neck, let it fall over my shoulders, and for a second, I saw something different in the mirror. Softer. Calmer. Me. I didn't even understand why it felt so emotional. It wasn't about clothes, it was about the relief of not pretending, even for a heartbeat. But then guilt hit like a wave. I remember pulling the scarf off, tossing it aside like it burned. My heart raced, palms sweaty, as if I'd just done something wrong. I couldn't sleep that night. I kept thinking, why can't I just be normal? Why can't I just fit in like everyone else? At school, I laughed at jokes that made me feel small. I joined conversations I didn't belong in. Every compliment about how manly I looked felt like a punch to the gut. And yet I smiled because it was easier to lie than to risk losing everyone. Until the day I met Leah. She transferred to our class mid-semester, all confidence and color. She had this wild hair, bright clothes, and a kind of energy that made people either love her or avoid her. But she didn't seem to care what anyone thought. That alone fascinated me. One afternoon, during group work, she looked at me and said, "You always look like you're apologizing for existing." I laughed awkwardly. "That obvious?" "Painfully," she said, smirking. "But it's okay. I used to be like that too." Something about her voice made me pause. There was no judgment, no teasing, just understanding. Over the next few weeks, we started hanging out. She asked real questions, the kind people usually avoid. One evening, we were sitting on the school steps, watching the sky turn orange, when she said, "So who are you when no one's watching?" I froze. My throat felt dry. I don't know," I whispered. She smiled softly. "Maybe it's time you find out." That night, I couldn't stop thinking about her words. The next day, she texted me, "Come over after school. I have something for you." Her room was chaos: makeup palettes, dresses, sketchbooks everywhere. "You're gonna help me test something," she said, handing me a long shirt dress. I blinked, unsure if she was serious. I can't wear that." "Why not?" "Because people will." "People already talk," she interrupted. "At least give them something interesting to talk about." I hesitated, but something about her confidence made me trust her. I changed behind the curtain, heart pounding. When I stepped out, I couldn't look her in the eye. "Look at yourself," she said, gently lifting my chin toward the mirror. It's hard to describe that moment. It wasn't about looking pretty or different. It was about recognition, like my reflection finally aligned with the person living inside me. I felt tears sting my eyes. Leah smiled, not saying a word. We spent the next hour experimenting. She showed me how to stand taller, how to breathe differently, how to let my shoulders relax. Every movement felt foreign but right. For the first time, I didn't feel like I was faking it. I felt alive. Then came the real test: stepping outside. Leah dragged me to the local park. My hands shook the entire walk. Every laugh, every glance from strangers felt like a spotlight. But Leah just walked beside me, calm and proud. "They'll stare anyway," she said. "Might as well give them a reason." A little girl ran up to me and said, "I like your hair." I froze, then smiled. That single moment melted years of fear. Someone saw me and didn't judge. She just saw a person. Of course, it wasn't all easy. The next week, photos surfaced online. Someone had seen us. Comments came flooding in, some cruel, some confused. My heart dropped. My parents found out. My mom cried. My dad went silent, the kind of silence that stings more than words. That night, I locked myself in my room. I wanted to disappear. Leah texted nonstop, "Don't let them define you. You're stronger than this." But I didn't feel strong. I felt broken. Then, hours later, a knock at my door. My mom's voice, trembling. "Can I come in?" I hesitated, then opened the door. She sat on my bed, eyes red. For a while, neither of us spoke. Finally, she whispered, "When you were little, you used to put on my scarves and dance. You looked so happy. I told your dad it was just a phase. But maybe I was wrong." Tears blurred my vision. "I couldn't even speak. I don't understand everything," she said, "but I don't want to lose you trying to." That night, we talked for hours. For the first time, I told her everything, the fear, the confusion, the relief of finally feeling seen. She listened. And by morning, I felt lighter than I had in years. Things didn't magically fix overnight. My dad avoided me for weeks. School was still hard. But slowly, I learned something powerful: people's opinions change, but only after you stop living to please them. The more I embraced myself, the less their words mattered. Months passed. My hair grew longer. I started using the name Riley. It felt natural, like breathing after holding it too long. Leah helped me find clothes that expressed who I was, not costumes, not disguises, but reflections. Soft sweaters, pastel tones, little details that made me smile when I saw my reflection. The first time I went out fully as myself, I thought my heart would burst from my chest. I walked through the mall, waiting for stares, whispers. But instead, something strange happened. People smiled. A store clerk complimented my earrings. A stranger held the door open. Nothing dramatic, nothing cinematic, just kindness. And in that ordinary kindness, I realized something extraordinary. The world isn't always cruel. Sometimes, it just waits for you to stop hiding. Over time, even my dad came around. It started small, an awkward good morning, then a cup of coffee left at my door. One evening, he knocked, looking nervous. You seem happier," he said. "I am," I replied softly. He nodded. "That's good. That's all that matters." We stood there in silence, but it was the kind of silence that felt like peace. Looking back now, I realize the glow-up wasn't just about how I looked. It was about everything I unlearned. The fear of rejection. The shame of not fitting a mold. The belief that love had to be earned through pretending. Now, when I stand in front of the mirror, I see someone strong. Someone who fought to exist. My reflection isn't perfect, but it's mine. Every scar, every tear, every laugh line tells a story of survival. I still get scared sometimes. Old habits don't vanish overnight. But now, fear doesn't stop me. It fuels me. Because fear is proof you're about to do something brave. Leah still teases me, saying, "You went from terrified to fabulous in record time." We laugh, but I know she means it. She saw me before I saw myself. A few weeks ago, I got a message from a classmate, one who used to mock me. He wrote, "I don't get it all, but I respect you. Takes guts to be real." I stared at that message for a long time. Not because I needed his approval, but because it reminded me how far I'd come. Now, when people ask about my feminine glow-up, I tell them this: it's not about makeup or clothes or hair. It's about shedding fear, piece by piece, until you finally see the person you were meant to be. Every time I step outside now, I hold my head high, not because I want attention, but because I finally deserve the space I take up. I used to think being myself would make me lose everyone. But I found new people, real ones who love me for my honesty, not my disguise. And the truth is, the world didn't change. I did. I became fierce not by fighting others, but by forgiving myself for hiding, for doubting, for waiting so long to live. So if you're watching this, wondering whether it's worth it, whether being yourself will ever stop hurting, I want you to know, it will. The first step is terrifying. The second hurts. The third feels impossible. But then, one day, You'll look in the mirror and realize you made it. You'll see the glow not on your skin, but in your eyes, the kind of light that only comes from finally being free. Because once you stop apologizing for existing, everything changes. You stop surviving and start living. And that's how I went from fear to fierce. It's been almost 2 years since that night in Leah's room, but sometimes it still feels fresh, like I'm still stepping out of that curtain for the first time. The difference now is that I no longer look away from mirrors. I face them. I even talk to them sometimes, reminding myself how far I've come when doubt creeps back in. I started sharing bits of my journey online, little clips at first, never showing my face, just voiceovers about learning to breathe freely again. I called it From Fear to Fierce, half joking, half afraid no one would care. But people did. Hundreds, then thousands. Messages from strangers poured in, people who felt trapped in their own reflections, scared to exist honestly. One message still makes me tear up. A girl from a small town wrote, "I watched your video every night before bed. You made me believe there's a world where I can just be me." I sat there for a long time, realizing I had become what I once needed, proof that courage is contagious. Leah still helps me film. She laughs when I get emotional mid-recording, wiping my tears before they ruin my mascara. "You cry beautifully," she jokes, and I roll my eyes, but secretly, I love that she never lets my vulnerability feel like weakness. Last month, I was invited to speak at a local youth event. I stood backstage, hands shaking, the same fear whispering, "What if they don't understand you?" But then I looked out at the crowd, faces young and old, nervous and hopeful, and I remembered that version of me who hid behind closed doors. I took a deep breath and said, "Once, I thought the scariest thing was being seen. Turns out, it's the only way to live." Afterward, a mother came up to me. She was crying, holding her child's hand. "Thank you," she said softly. "You helped me see my kid differently." That moment broke me and healed me, all at once. Now, every morning, I write 3 words on a sticky note before leaving home: fear, faith, fierce. Fear reminds me where I came from. Faith reminds me why I kept going. Fierce reminds me who I became. I don't claim to have everything figured out. Some days are still hard. People still judge. But the difference is, their voices don't drown mine anymore. My story used to be one of survival. Now it's one of strength. The glow-up wasn't a transformation of appearance, it was an awakening of truth. And every time I see someone else take that first brave step, I feel that same spark I once felt under Leah's light-filled mirror. It's like a chain reaction of courage spreading from one heart to another. So, if you're watching this wondering whether you should take your first step, whether you're ready to face your reflection and see something new, listen to me carefully. You already have everything you need. The courage isn't out there somewhere, it's in you, waiting to be invited out. Let them stare. Let them whisper. You're not here to please them. You're here to become you. And trust me, when that day comes, when you stop flinching from your own reflection, you'll realize you were never broken, just waiting to shine. That's my story. That's my glow up. From fear to fierce. And I hope, somehow, it becomes yours too. Spark ignite inside me. That spark is what keeps me going. It reminds me that courage doesn't just heal one life, it ripples through others, turning fear into connection and shame into solidarity. Leah says the world needs more people who dare to be honest. I used to think honesty was dangerous, that showing who I was would invite pain. Now I see it differently. Honesty is freedom. It's the moment you stop chasing permission to exist and start giving yourself the right to breathe. Some nights, when I scroll through old photos, the ones where I look lost, trying too hard to blend in, I don't hate that version of me anymore. I thank them. Because without that scared, quiet kid, I wouldn't understand the beauty of standing tall now. We don't erase who we were, we carry them with us, proof of how far we've come. A few months ago, my dad asked me to join him for coffee. It had been a while since we talked like that, no tension, no awkward pauses. He slid a small photo across the table. It was me, as a kid, wearing mom's scarf, spinning in circles, laughing. "You always looked happiest then," he said quietly. "Guess I finally understand why." I felt my throat tighten. He didn't need to say anything else. That moment said everything. I realized healing isn't a single moment of acceptance, it's a lifetime of small, silent yeses. Yes, I deserve love. Yes, I can take up space. Yes, I am allowed to shine. The truth is, we all start in fear. Every one of us. But the journey to fierce doesn't happen when you stop being scared, it happens when you stop letting fear decide your limits. So wherever you are right now, sitting in front of a mirror, hiding from your reflection, or dreaming of a life that feels out of reach, I want you to hear this. You are not alone. You are not broken. You are simply becoming. And when you finally step into your light, even if your hands shake, even if your voice trembles, the world will not end. It will open. People will see you, maybe for the first time, and you'll see them too, not through fear, but through the fierce truth of your own strength. That's the real glow up. Not perfection, not applause, but peace, the kind that comes from knowing who you are and daring to love it anyway. So this is where my story rests for now, a girl who once hid in shadows, now standing in the sunlight. From fear to fierce. And every day, still becoming a little braver, a little softer, a little more me.